Have you lost your mic? Hey, everybody, hang on. Shannon has been fighting with technical gremlins with me for the past hour. Her microphone was working fine a while ago. Have you hit your mute button, Shannon? Unmute your mic down at the bottom on the left. No, baby, it's muted, it says. Well, it worked and then it quit. And it's not muted. Can't hear a thing. I have no clue. It had lost complete connection to your microphone again. Sorry, Shannon. I don't know how to fix your mic from here, honey. It was working earlier. Do you want to call it for the night and try it again later? Yeah, we're trying to fix Shannon's audio, everybody. Her mic has done this several times. We have been at this for about 2 hours trying to get her live. And that, I do believe that microphone she has a demon in it. It will not work. It's something between that mic and her Mac. It doesn't work. I don't know. Do you want to call it? Just give me a thumbs up and we'll reschedule this for tomorrow night. Nope, nothing. I don't know. Can't hear a thing. Nobody can hear you. I'm guessing she's going to go out the studio and try to come back in. That worked earlier. So we'll give her just a second and see if she's coming back in. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. Shannon is here to give her testimony. And we have yeah, stay with us, Mike. Let's see if she comes back in. And if you got a minute, she has tried and tried, and we've actually tried 2 different softwares. Everything in the world is trying to prevent Shannon from giving her testimony. That is not a joke. If there is a tech gremlin that has got in the way, it has been with Shannon for 2 days now. And she has fought through tears to be here, and it's still not working correctly. Where did I put my cell phone? Mike, can you text the group? I don't have my cell phone in my hand. Can you text the group and tell Shannon that studio is still live to come back in? I couldn't hear anything she was saying before she left. We'll stay here as a test room. Yeah, just try to come back into the room, Shannon. That worked earlier. This is a good test run, like Mike said. This is just a good test run to test audio and everything else while we're here. Hope you're having a good evening, Mike. And thank you so much. You're always there. Thank you, Mike. I'm just getting around to eating my dinner for the night. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. Shannon is trying to fix a tech gremlin at the moment because her microphone is acting up. So she went out of studio and is going to try to come back in. Every tech gremlin in the world has gotten in this poor woman's way today to try to give her testimony. So if you'd like to stick around, Kathy, just bear with us just a minute and you can listen to the drone of my voice and hopefully Shannon will be back. Oh, there's my phone, Mike. Glad you texted. Now it dinged. I just got the grandkids over to the house and they got their showers and they've eaten their dinner. My daughter's home from work. So it's like, after doing the show today, and then you got to round up 2 10-year-olds. But I'm glad the ones that are here. I don't know if all of you watch the Supernatural Network or the Supernatural show with Daniel. If any of you aren't from there, you need to go check out the website. It's thesupernatural.show. We're having a tinfoil hat contest at the moment. There are prizes. They'll be put up anonymously to be voted on by other viewers. Once we get enough in, you got to the end of the month, you can submit your pictures on there. There we go. Shannon is in the studio, but it says your devices are not connected. Let's see. She's in there, guys. She's trying. There we go. Here she comes. I think it may just be an internet gremlin in general because she's like kind of slow and glitchy. Shannon's out on the West Coast. Yep, it's giving her the circle of I think I can. And for those of you that don't know, Shannon's like my partner in crime on here. Shalom, welcome. Shannon's trying. Oh, there we go. Can we hear you now? Speak, Daphne. Daphne, no speak. Daphne can't hear me.
I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
I can hear you. I hear you.
You do?
5 by 5 loud and clear, sweetheart.
Can everyone hear me?
All right, give us a 5 by 5 if everybody can hear Shannon, okay? She's excited. She's in. It's working. Yes. All right, Miss Kathy.
Okay.
You got a few that were in here. Miss Kathy stepped away. She said she'll be right back. Yes, they can hear you fine. Oh, they were patiently waiting, so give them just a second. And everybody, this is the beautiful Shannon. The intro you heard coming in was Shannon. She created it. It is an original. She is part of our Supernatural Network, and this is Shannon's premiere episode on her own channel, The Children of the Most High.
Welcome, everyone, to my premiere for my brand new channel on the Supernatural Network, the Supernatural Show Network. Sorry, I'm going to just kind of calm down a little bit here. As Roxy had mentioned earlier, it has been quite a feat to get all of this together, to get this testimony to you guys. And Jesus always pulls through. That's all I've got to say. And if it weren't for my team that I work with, which would be Daniel Alexander Cannon, he helped me put together the visuals and helped me put together all this layout stuff because he knows I'm special. And that would be Roxy, who just helped step me through all this so I didn't lose my mind. And my Super Mike, Super Dave, Miss Kim, love all of you guys. But anyways, thank you so very much for showing up to my new channel. Here on this channel, we're going to be going through the whole gambit of things. We're going to go through scripture. We're going to go through supernatural events. really hone in on all kinds of things relating to God and your personal walk with God, all of the programming and all of those things. But first and foremost, one of the most important things to me and what got me started on this journey is my testimony. I truly feel that your testimony, your personal testimony, and how you came to Jesus is the most important thing you can do for the kingdom of God. And I made a promise to God that I would not have my own platform for any of this until I got my personal testimony. I started out with the Supernatural show as the co-host, and I'm still there with everyone with Daniel Alexander Cannon. And I got very comfortable with being a co-host and not having to deal with all of this stuff. But God has really pushed on my heart to come out and have my own platform on this network that we're building and to give my testimony. I'm going to be doing this in parts. It is an extremely long testimony. It happened over a period of 3 weeks. And it's literally 12 years to this date because I started the 3 week visions and things right around September 1st and ended right about September 23rd. That was the day that I finally woke up from actually being able to sleep. And this has changed my life forever. So the best way to start this off is a little bit of my background. For those of you who are new here, who don't know anything about me from the Supernatural show, I was born in 1981, and I was born to two parents who were very, very different people, but fell in love and got married and had me right away. And my mother and her side of the family were very Catholic. That's what I was baptized as. And my father's side, apparently they were more like Baptist and then Episcopalian, but my dad was not into any of that back then because his main job, which he was a mechanic, but he worked for auto parts. His main job was really more to go do drugs and alcohol than anything else. That was his main priority. And my mom, was a hairdresser and raised me the best she could after, leaving my dad. And so I came from a broken home, and I was very devout Catholic when I was young. I honestly thought I wanted to be a nun, which my mom was like, no way, that's, I want grandchildren someday. And I was like, no, I'm devout to God. But little did I know God had another path for me, because he knew that my family factions were deeper in occult things than even they were aware of. And I was not aware of this till after, this testimony took place. And even still after that, it took me a little while to understand what has been shown to me. But anyways, I grew up, I went to Catholic school, up until about 3rd grade, and then went into public school. And eventually my best friend growing up, I only had like 3 friends, and I'm an only child at this point, because I have a half brother, but a different mother, and he's like 11 years younger than me. So I am by myself at this point. And I lost my place. Go figure. Anyways, I'm about 13 years old. It's middle school. I lost my best friend. He ended up pew-pewing the principal at his school, which was a Catholic school, and then unaliving himself afterwards. And it was very impactful, but it started my journey in getting out of the Catholic Church and exploring other religions. Long story short, I ended up getting into more of the occult side of things. I got into the goth scene when I was in high school. This was the 90s, about now. And I got really involved in that kind of stuff. I started doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show, doing the Renaissance Fair, doing all of those kinds of things, and getting deeper and deeper into the dark side. And even though I had gone through many different types of religions up and before I became gothy, I still found that a lot of the churches thought I was weird. I've never fit in. I've always been different. Always, which is fine. Not all of us fit in. But that in turn brought me to living with a boyfriend for a long time that wasn't very good for me. And then I ended up meeting my husband, which was a lovely story. Another time, we'll go down there. And I ended up building a family. And in the midst of building this family, after my son was born, I ended up in a very bad car accident. Now, before leading up to this car accident, I had really gotten into the whole New Age thing. I was head first into the New Age scene. My father was really into it. He really got into the hippie thing and was into festivals, and he was always into aliens and conspiracy stuff and all kinds of things. And so I really kind of adhered into that realm of things. And I got really deep in there and really started to believe the lies of that there was no good and evil. It was all perspective and all of those things. And me and my husband and my father started dabbling in the world of dimethyltryptamine. And that's when everything started going downhill. And that's right after we had kind of given up all of that stuff. That's when, boom, everything hit. I got into this car accident. They were telling me I was going paralyzed. They put me on very, very hardcore medication because my tolerance level was already very high. And so I ended up on a lot of medication. And through all this time, I almost died 4 times in the time between 2012 and 2013. My doctors were telling me that I was going paralyzed and that I had to have surgery. I had the worst lawyers of all time who ended up totally destroying me. And long story short, I ended up getting surgery and I almost died. I ended up completely paralyzed on my left side of my body when I woke up from the first surgery. And the doctor just kept telling me, "Oh no, go home, you're just fine." But I knew something was very wrong. And I fought with the nurse. My mom fought with the nurse, and then another nurse came in and fought with us to get the doctor down here, who just was so sure of himself that everything was fine. He comes in, they got in an ER doctor to come in and take a look at me, and he told me I was permanently paralyzed. So that got the doctor all riled up to finally come in and check And when they took an emergency MRI, they saw that I had a piece of my disc free floating around, as well as a blood clot that was heading to my brain. So if I would have gone home like he had told me to, I would have been gone. So I had an emergency surgery, and it ended up leaving me walking with a cane. Hello, everyone. Meet my third leg, my best friend, who carries me around everywhere. But yeah, so I ended up in a situation where I had to learn to walk again and with a cane, and I'm still in that situation. Well, after all the surgeries, we get through all of these things. I'm still on a lot of medication. I end up one night not being able to breathe, and I knew it was time to get off of everything because it was shutting down my respiratory system. And a few people I knew throughout high school ended up dying with the same medication, or of an overdose. So I knew it was time to do that because I still have children to raise. And from that moment on, I had no idea what was in store for me. I originally asked my family to put me into some kind of rehabilitation center through the hospital to help me to wean off of all of this medication. But my family was like, no, we got this, teamwork, right? So the first couple of nights, it was so bad, I ended up having to try to go back to the doctor to get something to try and wean me off. And in that instance, the doctor ended up prescribing me something that ended up counteracting with what I was taking, pharmacia, right? But in the computer system, it was flashing and he didn't pay attention. So that ended up starting a whole slew of things. And the next thing I know, I am starting to see things and to hear things and to what I feel like is hallucinating. And here's how it starts. This is kind of where it starts to get really crazy. And I think before I do this, I'm going to just turn my camera off for a second, so you can just give me one moment to breathe. Okay. So the first night, I am trying to get some sleep. I have not been able to sleep for 2 nights as it is already, from all the pain and discomfort and trying to get off of these opiates and the other slew of things they had me on. And the first vision I had was of me and my mom. We were doing ayahuasca. Now, a little bit of background in the New Age movement, they're really, really into ayahuasca, which is a dimethyltryptamine based substance. And shamans, it's like exploded as some kind of fad now. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. But in this vision, my mom and me, which again, my mother would never do anything like this, but again, this is what's in my head. My mom and me are doing ayahuasca. And in this situation, all these demons are just like coming out of her, and there's some shaman there who is telling me it's all this Catholic background and blah blah blah, and she's just full of demons, and that's why she doesn't feel good, and that's why she's having all these physical issues. And in the end of that vision, my mom is we end up writing a book together, and she is just praising this stuff, how it healed her, but it didn't really heal her. It ended up like making her kind of nuts, and she was just gone at this point. But she just thought this was the best thing in the whole world, and now her demons were gone. But really, in reality of what I was seeing, she was more full of demons than ever before. And so that ends up turning into this vision. And again, these are visions. This is literally happening while I'm awake. I'm not asleep. This whole entire 3 weeks, I did not sleep. So it turns into me having to be forced to move to Las Vegas for some reason. We were forced to leave our home, and another family was placed in our home. When we get to Las Vegas, it's no longer like the desert that we know of today. It is like a big giant ocean front or big giant lake, and it's mostly water, and these houses are built on the water, but the strip is still the same, and Trump Towers is still there. So we end up in Trump Towers with my family, and this is where things really start to get even more strange. What's going on around us is there's a big huge real estate boom, and my mother-in-law is just buying stuff left and right, and she's so excited, and there's just this huge boom, and we're in Trump Towers like we're staying there, like it's some kind of hotel that we're staying at, but really everything is fancy and tech, and just it's like an upgraded version of Trump Towers. And this whole entire time, my loyalty is being questioned over and over and over. And I'm constantly having to say, no, I'm loyal. I'm 100% loyal. And I'm not sure what it is that what I need to be loyal about, but that just kept coming up and coming up. And then as this time is going by, and my mother-in-law is just buying real estate left and right, and like all these riches, and so excited, I end up falling ill and having to go to the doctor again. And that's when the vision ends up stopping. And that's when I was actually at the doctor's. So I ended up at the doctor's trying to get help. So this is reality. I'm not having a vision at this point, but I am begging the doctor, like, something is wrong. I'm seeing things, like I don't understand what's happening, and they just brush me off like it's nothing. And so I end up going back home. And I'm just going to pause right here and say a lot of this is very fuzzy. I don't exactly have a direct timeline for every single thing that happened. And there are some things that I still come to me and I still remember, because it was like living 1,000 different lives all at once in a whole nother realm while reality is going on. So that being said, bear with me on this if it is out of order. But oh, actually, I did forget a part of that vision. That family that ended up being taken, placed in our home, it was an African American woman. And the whole entire time, she was just looking at my house and just saying how filthy it was and how filthy white people were. And again, I'm not racist in any way, shape, or form. This is nothing along those lines. This is just what was shown to me. Okay. So I'm just expressing the visions that were in my head. And it was just over and over. And so another family was placed in my home. This is kind of important because, later on in these years, I've come to find out more and more what these things mean. So back to at the next vision when I get home from the doctors. I am in the emergency room in this vision. I am being, I am telling the doctor what's happening to me and something's wrong and blah, blah, blah. And the doctor and all the nurses then hold me down. They're holding me down. I'm freaking out. And the next thing I know is they are forcing a jab in me. And the moment that happens, and mind you, this is another note, in the emergency room, it is mad chaos. There is chaos going around everywhere. Like people are just, things have just broken out in mad riots, even inside the emergency room. But after they had pinned me down and given me that jab, I end up being a completely different person. I end up leaving the emergency room and hopping in a car with a bunch of people who are ready to do criminal activity. And then it cuts to me watching it on the news. Now, here's the thing. I don't realize this is not reality. I truly believe I am watching this on the news after it had happened. And I start calling up friends and family members saying, I'm so sorry that you saw me on the news like that. I don't know what happened. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what in the world? You know? And so it was starting to set in. Okay, so that wasn't real. That wasn't real. And at this point, I am still not sleeping. And so, give me a second here. I see I'm old school. I write all my stuff on a notebook, you guys. So, like I'd say not that night, but maybe the very next night, I started hearing voices. Like full on voices telling me that I was possessed and that I cannot look my children in the eyes or my husband in the eyes, or I will transfer these demons to them, because apparently it's through the eyes. And so that whole night, I just kept my eyes down and I wouldn't look at anyone. And my husband was really freaking out. And at this point, he had just started a teaching job, just started teaching. So he's already stressed dealing with everything. And then on top of it, his wife is starting to lose her mind. And at this point, I'm starting to scare my children. I go into my room and I can see demons everywhere. I can see a demon cat-like thing hanging out on my revolving fan that is just staring at my children. And so I get very protective and I'm protecting them. And my husband is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you don't see that? You don't see this thing staring down at our kids? And he's like, okay, no. And then I start to see these visions of my children. And this is at the point, because I tell them this. I start to tell them the things that I'm seeing and believing. And it starts to terrify them. They're little at this point, and I certainly don't blame them. But I thought my daughter turned into a mermaid and that she was a real mermaid. I thought that my son had been literally pieced apart into other children. And I kept, especially this one boy, and I kept telling my husband literally over and over, we have a new son. Don't you want to meet him? And I mean, my God, my poor husband at this point is just like, my wife is gone. What is going on? You know? So I'm seeing all this stuff play out, but yet I know something is wrong in my reality. but I don't know how to stop it. I don't know what's going on and how these things are happening. And so we're probably into day 4 about this point. And my parents and his parents decide to take the kids for a couple of weeks. And this is at the point to where I call my father. My father, being the hippie that he was, I figured he was the only one who could really help me through this, since I didn't understand what was going on, and he was kind of a master at that kind of a thing, you know. At the time, he was dying of cancer, and we didn't know this, and he was in a lot of pain, but he tried his best to make arrangements, and it took him about a week to be able to come back up. But I'm calling my dad. This is how desperate I am. I'm like, no one can handle this. I don't know what's happening. And so let me switch my page. So we are at about 40 minutes here. So I'll probably, end the stream in about 45 minutes, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow. And I'll just, in the evening, keep going until these parts have all been done. So after that, this is where it gets even crazier. I had this beautiful neighbor who always liked to run and jog in the neighborhood, and she has this she had a very sleek, short, very dark purple kind of a hair color, and I'd see her around all the time. But somehow I start seeing myself as her, but as this angel, like as a dark angel. And I end up in Egypt. So it's like I'm this angel, and I end up on this dark angel, and I end up on this spaceship kind of thing, but it ends up like traveling back into time, and I'm in Egypt, and suddenly I am Isis. And I'm not sure if a lot of you know the story of Isis and Osiris and that whole thing, but I literally played out the entirety of that myth of the Isis and Osiris and Set thing. So that ends up playing out. And then I end up again as this dark angel, but I look different, and it's in another time. And it's like we are in this battle, and I'm a dark angel at this point, but I end up starting to turn back to the light, and I start talking to this king guy, and I'm telling him not to follow this dark side that I work with, and trying to get him to follow God. And these other dark angels find out that that's what I'm doing and turn against me. And so at this point, I am coming back into reality. And again, mind you, I have not slept. And I start to see these police officers. Like, I literally truly believed that there were a bunch of police officers in my garage, and I was having a conversation, and that they were telling me we had to move, and that we were being investigated, and they wanted to work with me and all of this stuff. And so I'm literally telling my husband, in reality, we gotta move. I start cleaning up things. I'm seeing visions of like, you have to clean up your closet with colloidal silver and colloidal gold to really get rid of all the traces of everything. I mean, this is, I am just in this state of absolute paranoia of whatever, because these police officers are telling me that they're investigating me, and we got to move, and all that kind of stuff. And this actually goes on for weeks, up until I am back to normal, I am still in the psychosis where I believe that these police officers are talking to me, and that will play an important thing later on as the visions progress. And so that's going on. I start really freaking out because my kids are gone. I'm missing my kids. In reality, every now and then I am still coming back to myself and freaking out, not knowing what to do. And at this point, I believe my parents and my husband are trying to figure out if they need to commit me literally to a mental hospital. And so I start to try to relax. We try to watch some movies. We tried to watch some shows of things that we grew up on, just trying to bring it back to reality. And this is when I started having visions of children literally disappearing. They're gone. They're just everywhere. Children gone. Their clothes are all in little piles. And I run into the loft and I see my children's clothes in little piles. But the reality, I know that they're not there and they're with my parents. But I'm seeing this in real time that everybody, their children are just gone. And I'm running outside and trying to get a hold of my neighbor. And I'm talking to my neighbor, although I'm not actually talking to my neighbor, but I am literally running outside. So you know what I'm saying? And I'm, saying, your kids, are they gone? And my neighbors are saying, yes. Oh my God, what's going on? And then I flash back to reality and I realize I'm outside in a robe and go home. And so this is just the very beginning of when I started to really understand that I was slipping out of reality. And it only gets harder from here. And I think this is kind of a good place to take a break, and we'll be doing part 2 tomorrow. Plus I'm kind of sweaty and it's really hot in here. I do appreciate your patience with me with all of the tech stuff earlier. I'll get better at that. And I will probably try and do a little recap for the next one before we get into it. And I'll definitely have things a little bit better put together to speak. It's just really hard because so much of this is jumbled up and all happened successively without end for 3 weeks. And it is very emotional. And it's once I start getting into the really profound visions of things that have taken place or are starting to take place, that's when it gets kind of heavy. So right now you're just like, ooh, lady lost her mind, pharmakia, right? But it gets more intense. So that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me with my testimony. Just before you go, I just wanted to remind you all that I am part of the Supernatural Network here on, hopefully I got the right thing, here on the Children of the Most High. And we will be progressing with a lot more fun things later. And after all the testimony is done on these lives, I will be compressing it or making a better film alongside with it. But God put it on my heart that I need to get it out now. And I may not be very eloquent with saying it, but I need to be obedient to God. And if this just helps one person, then that would be all that I need. And so I love you all. Thank you again for hanging out with me on the Children of the Most High. And come check out Daniel on Logic Before Authority tomorrow, Wednesday. That's correct. And we'll be back all together, me, Daniel, and Roxy, on the Supernatural show on Friday. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you later.